Welcome, seekers of meaning in a noisy age, welcome home to Turkish series stars. Tonight, I invite you to lower the volume on the outside world and listen closely to the quiet between the words. We scroll through endless declarations, curated happiness, and love that seems to exist only when it's captioned and tagged. But what happens when one of Turkey's most luminous faces chooses not to shout, but to pause? We're talking about Alina Navruz, and a New Year's Eve sentence that stopped midair, worth more than 1,000 overblown confessions. This is a story about drawing lines, choosing peace, and starting again without changing who you are. Before we dive in, if you believe subtlety still has power, leave a like, subscribe, and, if you want to support thoughtful storytelling beyond superficial buzz, hit join. Ready to decode the truth tucked inside those three dots? Let's begin. As the world ushered in 2026 with camera-ready toasts, choreographed countdowns, and fireworks reflected in a million phone screens, one woman did the opposite. No sparkling champagne photo, no rehearsed grin. Alina, whose name resonates from Istanbul to every corner where Turkish series are adored, posted a line that felt like a handbrake pulled on the runaway train of the timeline. She wrote, "The only thing I want to change in 2026 is," and then she left it open. 3 ellipses. A deliberate unfinished thought. A doorway left ajar in a brightly lit hallway. Speculation exploded in seconds. Comment sections and sites hungry for melodrama scrambled to assign meaning. Was it a warning shot? A veiled goodbye to Alp? A public whisper from a private ache? But here at Turkish series stars, we don't just watch, we listen. The rhythm of her silence didn't sound distressed. It sounded steady. Not a midnight impulse or a tipsy confession, but something settled long before the calendar turned. People close to Alina describe a woman who stopped letting life happen to her and began choosing, with discipline, what to let in and what to release. The thing she wants to change isn't a person, and certainly not Alp. It's the way she engages with everything beyond the front door of her heart. Picture rewriting your life script without swapping out the cast, only adjusting the lighting and tone. That's the energy Alina is carrying into the new year. Clearer phrasing. Slower exhale. A gentler presence for those who have earned her nearness, and a firmer, unmistakable boundary where confusion tends to sneak in. For years, fans mounted Alina and Alp in frames polished by premieres, interviews, and the tightly choreographed rituals of publicity. Perfect smiles, warm glances, an aura that made spectators dream. Yet anyone who's lived a love outside the movies knows the difference between a highlight reel and a day-to-day heartbeat. Their schedules collide. International opportunities tug them in opposite directions. Every exchange risks becoming public property, magnified, dissected, misunderstood. In this climate, a pledge to change isn't an alarm bell for a breakup, it's an oath to survive together. That open-ended sentence felt like an invitation to build a new method, fewer megaphones, more real conversations. Less spectacle, more substance. Alina and Alp have endured gusts of confusion amplified by strangers' theories and unsolicited commentary. 2026, for them, doesn't read like a chapter of separation, it reads like architectural plans. It's the year of scaffolding instead of demolition, a ring of protection around something tender and worth guarding. Think of a fortress not defined by its walls, but by the garden inside, the place where two people can finally hear one another. Perhaps the most striking pillar of this shift is Alina's choice to shrink the public footprint of her private life. Friends say she's been repeating a mantra, simple but radical in this economy of attention: talk less, live more. In a world where every soft moment is turned into content and every difficult hour becomes a headline, she's choosing not to feed the machine. Not as a game against paparazzi, but as a form of spiritual hygiene. Her joy doesn't require an audience to exist. Intimacy is something she wants to feel, not perform. With the volume of the outside turned down, she hopes to hear her own voice more clearly, and, crucially, Alp's voice without static. You can't grasp this shift without placing it alongside what's coming from Alp Navruz himself. He's praised for discipline, grace with colleagues, and that calm center on set that never seems to crack. Lately, one word has been circling him like a planet in orbit: balance, denga. The balance between ambition and rest. Between the generosity the public demands and the sanctuary home must be. The fact that they arrived at similar conclusions as the year turned isn't coincidence. It looks like a relationship maturing from the rush of early adrenaline into a conscious alliance. At a small New Year's dinner with close friends, Alp reportedly said something softly decisive: "We don't want to change our lives, we want to simplify them." That line feels like a compass. Fewer performative posts, more unphotographed laughter. Fewer long explanations, more eye contact. The emphasis is no longer on proving love to anyone else, it's on practicing it. And yet, the bravest piece might be Alina's decision to retire the habit of pleasing everyone. Some have mistaken her poise for endless pliancy, imagining a smile that smooths every edge at her own expense. But growth asks for hard choices. Sometimes you allow others to be disappointed rather than sacrificing your inner weather. Those who know her say she's done drafting elaborate essays to justify the boundaries that protect her quiet. She isn't cutting people off, she's repositioning them. Picture a long dinner table, the table of her life, where the seating chart is being rewritten. Those who feast on chaos move a few chairs down. Those who arrive respectfully and with truth, like Alp, are placed where the candles glow brightest. It isn't punishment. It's clarity. This is the part many missed in that unfinished caption. It wasn't a wound laid bare, it was a blueprint unrolled. Alina isn't content to be a character in someone else's narrative. She's holding the pen steady, tuning the chorus around her until its harmonies match what she's willing to live with. And in the quiet space they're building, shared silences, shared limits, and respect that doesn't need a spotlight, love has a fighting chance to last beyond the dopamine spike of likes. There's love that blooms under flashbulbs, buoyed by applause and engagement metrics. And there's love that survives early call times, long flights, low batteries, and phones face down because presence is more urgent than notifications. It's that second kind that seems to be crystallizing with Alina and Alp. Their plan is disarmingly simple: keep what's essential, set aside what's ornamental, and let the crowd have its theories while they do the work only the two of them can do. They are, in their own quiet way, digging a moat around their shared peace. Not to isolate, but to filter. So that what crosses over is invited and kind. To our Turkish series stars family, I turn the question to you. In a culture that rewards overexposure, what do you make of a vow of radical confidentiality? Do you prefer couples who broadcast every heartbeat, or does this protective mystery draw you closer? And your own New Year's line, how would you finish it? The only thing I want to change in 2026 is, tell us in the comments. Let's turn this space into a shared ledger of good intentions. A reminder: reading between the lines takes time, patience, and heart. If you appreciate this kind of storytelling that looks for meaning instead of noise, click join. It's a way of saying depth matters. Don't forget to ring the bell. We'll be following every quiet step of this evolving pact. Some will dismiss this as seasonal resolve that melts in the heat of the next rumor. We disagree. From the placement of those 3 dots to the synchronized language echoing in both circles, everything points to solidity. This isn't a move born out of fear, it's born out of clarity. And clarity is stubborn. It doesn't wrestle with the noise, it outlasts it, standing still long enough for what's true to grow roots. For those still hunting for a hidden goodbye in that caption, consider another reading. The unfinished sentence isn't a cliffhanger. It's a horizon. It invites both of them. And all of us, to decide what must change and what must be protected at all costs. To draw the lines that should have been there all along, and to erase the ones that never belonged. We've reached the end of this reflection. Alina offered not a photo, but a thought. Alp is beside her, companion to the silence that needs no translation. If this made you pause, share it with someone who also longs for substance. Subscribe to stay with us as we follow the human story beneath the headlines. Thank you for listening. I wish you a 2026 rich with meaningful quiet and love that doesn't need witnesses to be real. A warm embrace from Turkish series stars. See you next time.